Have you ever wondered how the story of Ishmael, a significant figure in religious history, began? In the ancient times, a woman named Hagar found herself in the middle of a divine plan. She was a slave, but not just any slave. Hagar was the servant of Sarah, who was married to Abraham, a man favored by God. Now Sarah was barren, and in those times it was customary for a barren woman to give her slave to her husband as a wife to bear children. So, Sarah gave Hagar to Abraham. And as fate would have it, Hagar conceived. But this was where the harmony ended. Sarah, seeing Hagar pregnant, was filled with jealousy and resentment. She treated Hagar harshly, so harshly, that Hagar decided to flee into the wilderness, pregnant and alone. But the story doesn't end there. In her solitude, Hagar was visited by an angel of God who comforted her and told her to return to Sarah. The angel also made a promise to Hagar that her son would be the father of a great nation. Hagar, bolstered by this divine intervention, decided to return. Upon her return, she gave birth to a son whom she named Ishmael, meaning God hears. And so, against all odds, Ishmael was born in the wilderness, a beacon of hope and a testament to God's promise. But even as Ishmael was born, another promise was unfolding. A promise that would cast a long shadow over the lives of Abraham, Sarah, Hagar, and of course, Ishmael himself. You see, God had made a covenant with Abraham, a divine contract of sorts. He promised Abraham that he would father a great nation, and that this nation would descend from his own flesh and blood. Now, this was a puzzling promise. After all, Abraham and his wife Sarah were far past their childbearing years. Yet, in a twist straight out of a divine drama, Sarah, against all odds, became pregnant. The child she bore was named Isaac, the son of promise, the one through whom God's covenant would be fulfilled. But Isaac's arrival wasn't celebrated by everyone in the household. There was another mother, Hagar, and another son, Ishmael. They were part of the family, yet not part of the promise. And that's where the conflict began. Sarah, now a mother herself, saw Ishmael, the son of her slave Hagar, as a threat to her son Isaac. She saw in Ishmael a rival who could claim the inheritance meant for her son. And so, she took action. She demanded that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away. Imagine that for a moment. A mother and her child, banished from their home, cast into the unforgiving desert with little more than a loaf of bread and a skin of water. Abraham was torn, but God reassured him. "Do not be distressed," God said. "I will make a nation of the son of the slave woman also, because he is your offspring." And so, Hagar and her son Ishmael were cast out, left to face the harsh desert alone. The promise had caused a conflict that would shape the destiny of two nations, two peoples, both children of Abraham, yet divided by the circumstances of their birth. But as we'll see, this wasn't the end of the story for Hagar and Ishmael. There were still promises to be kept, blessings to be bestowed, and a future to be forged in the heat of the desert. But even in the desert, God's grace was not absent. Amid the harsh sands and scorching sun, Hagar and Ishmael found themselves in dire straits. But they were not alone. God, in his infinite mercy, reached out to them. He supplied a well of water, a symbol of life and hope, which saved them from the brink of despair. Following this miraculous intervention, God spoke directly to Hagar. He reassured her, promising that Ishmael would not only survive but thrive. God saw Ishmael's potential, his strength and his resilience. He saw the future leader in this young boy, the progenitor of a great nation. God promised Hagar that Ishmael would become a great nation, that he would be the father of 12 princes, establishing a lineage that would stretch out across the ages. And God kept his promise. From the hardship of the desert, Ishmael grew into a skilled archer, a survivor, a leader. He had 12 sons, each one becoming a tribal chieftain, leading their people across the vast expanses of the desert. These tribes spread out, populated the Arabian Peninsula, shaping a significant part of the world's history and culture. Fast forward to the present day, and the descendants of Ishmael are numerous, scattered across the globe. They have made their mark in every field, every sphere of life, from science to arts, from politics to sports. They have contributed to the rich tapestry of human civilization in countless ways. Yet, the story of Ishmael is not just about numbers or locations. It's about God's faithfulness, his unwavering promise, and his boundless love. It's about the divine grace that transforms adversity into prosperity, despair into hope, and isolation into community. It's about the strength of the human spirit, the resilience to survive, and the courage to thrive, even in the harshest of circumstances. God's blessings on Ishmael were not just for him, but for generations to come. This is the legacy of Ishmael, a testament to God's everlasting promise, an enduring symbol of his love and grace. And it's a reminder for all of us that even in the desert, even in the most challenging times, we are not alone. God is with us, guiding us, blessing us, and transforming our trials into triumphs. But what if I told you the story of Hagar and Sarah goes beyond their personal lives? Indeed, their narratives serve as a backdrop to a profound spiritual metaphor, as presented by Apostle Paul in the New Testament book of Galatians. In Galatians 4, Paul employs the story of Hagar and Sarah to illustrate a crucial divide in the spiritual landscape. Hagar, the slave woman, comes to represent the Old Covenant, the Mosaic law that was given to the Israelites at Mount Sinai. This covenant was based on human effort and obedience to the law, a system where one's status was determined by their adherence to rules and regulations. However, this system was inherently flawed, as it was impossible for any human to perfectly keep the law, thereby leading to spiritual bondage and condemnation. On the flip side, Sarah, the free woman, symbolizes the new covenant of grace through faith in Jesus Christ. This covenant isn't dependent on human effort but on the finished work of Christ on the cross. Those who believe in him are declared righteous, not by their works but by faith. They are free from the bondage of the law and are children of the promise, just like Isaac, Sarah's son. This metaphorical representation extends to their sons as well. Ishmael, born of Hagar, represents those who attempt to gain favor with God through their own efforts, while Isaac, born of Sarah, represents those who trust in God's promise and receive righteousness through faith. In Galatians 5, Paul further asserts this freedom we have in Christ, urging us to stand firm and not submit again to the yoke of slavery, that is, the law. He emphasizes that in Christ, there is no distinction between slave or free, for we are all one in him. The story of Hagar and Sarah, thus, serves as a powerful metaphor for spiritual bondage and freedom. It's a tale that invites us to reflect on the grace of God that liberates us from the constraints of the law and ushers us into the freedom of faith in Christ. So, what can we learn from the life of Ishmael? Well, Ishmael's story is a fascinating tapestry woven with threads of faith, adversity, and divine providence. Born to Hagar, a slave woman, Ishmael was the product of Abraham and Sarah's impatience for God's promise of a child. Yet, his existence was not an accident. Despite the circumstances of his birth, Ishmael was not forgotten by God. Ishmael's life serves as a powerful testament to God's mercy and grace. When Hagar and Ishmael were cast into the wilderness, it was God who came to their aid, promising to make Ishmael a great nation. This promise was fulfilled as Ishmael fathered 12 sons, who became the forefathers of many nations. Ishmael's story also speaks to the consequences of human actions and the importance of faith in God's promises. Abraham and Sarah's decision to take matters into their own hands led to strife and conflict. Yet even in the midst of this, God's grace was evident. The legacy of Ishmael extends beyond his lifetime, shaping the course of religious history. His descendants, often associated with Arab nations, have had significant influence in the world, a testament to God's promise that he would be the father of a great nation. Ishmael's life is a potent reminder of God's active involvement in our lives, even when we make mistakes. God's plans are not thwarted by our actions, but rather, they work together for his greater purpose. Ishmael's life is a testament to God's faithfulness, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, his blessings are not far off. Intrigued by the life of Ishmael and want to learn more about such fascinating characters from religious history? If you enjoyed this deep dive and found it enlightening, do us a favor and hit that like button. If Ishmael's life sparked any thoughts or questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment. We'd love to hear your insights. And remember, this is just one of many captivating stories we're eager to share, so make sure to subscribe for more insightful journeys into religious history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Ishmael's life. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.